Earlier this month, LEGO released a brand new LEGO Spider-Man set, which was Spider-Man at the Sanctum workshop, and I was really excited for this set initially. However, when I got it in hand, it just wasn't quite working for me. I personally felt the set was a really odd shape, and just the whole design of it felt very much just like random accessories just shoved in a big straight line, and I was just not an overall fan. As a result, I thought I would take it apart and try and rebuild it into something more along the lines of Bro Thor's house from earlier in the year, but I tried to use as many of the set's original pieces as possible, sort of like a create a 3-in-1 build. I made an entire video showcasing off this set if you haven't checked it out already, but since a lot of you guys did want to see a tutorial, I thought I would show you and walk you through how I built it. So what you'll need in order to make this set is firstly the Spider-Man at the Sanctum workshop set itself, as well as these additional pieces. And if you really want to sort of spice it up a tiny bit more, I also added Ned from the Spider-Man minifigure pack from a couple years back. However, it's not necessary, and you could probably make your own Ned with just the pieces that LEGO do offer these days. And with those pieces and the set combined, here is what you will have left over for your parts collection. Now with this build, the goal has always been for me to just try and rebuild the set with as much of what I have and not really add too many additional pieces. Admittedly, I would love for sort of the back wall on the right to be a tiny bit taller to match the one with the frame. However, I personally in my collection don't have too many dark orange bricks, and I really wanted it to sort of all tie in together, and I didn't want to add too many extra pieces more than what I felt was necessary. Ideally, I would like to add to this a bit more in the future and sort of complete up that entire back wall and probably even tile off the top, but for just the sake of rebuilding it with all of the parts, I've left it as is. In the comments of the other video as well, people were saying like there was so much more that you could have done, or it could have been so much better, and I do 100% agree, and I feel like a lot of this came down to being limited by those parts. One of my favorite aspects of the set has always been sort of the little builds that came with it, and I think that was the big highlight, because taking it apart and just looking at the pieces, you can really see how bare bones the actual structure of the set was. But nevertheless, I thought it turned out pretty good, and I've personally just left it as is since then. In fact, the only time I've taken it apart is actually to film this video. I personally prefer this configuration, and since it is very, very close to the original set in terms of those parts, I don't necessarily feel so bad about having it out, as I know when I personally break down sets, I like to try and keep all of the pieces together just to save myself the hassle of rebuilding them later. The only time I'll ever take pieces out of a set like that is if I'm building a MOC and that specific piece is in a set that's broken down. I'll just pull it out and sort of mix it in with my parts collection, and that's a problem for another day. Now, as I build, you'll see again, this structure is very, very simple and very basic, and you don't necessarily have to continue using the dark orange pieces that came in the set if you really wanted to. The beauty of LEGO is you can swap these things out. I was tempted to even sort of make it dark tan and have it match the 2018 Sanctum a tiny bit closer, since they used nougat and light bluish gray. I just feel like the dark orange sort of sticks out a tiny bit, and also since I do have a lot more dark tan and light bluish gray pieces, I feel like it would be easier for me to sort of stand it tall, and I might do a MOC of that instead and swap out all of these bricks. I'm not 100% sure, but that's just something you can consider as well if you don't have a lot of dark orange pieces like I do. There was also a comment on that other video of someone saying that I should try and incorporate this set into that Sanctum Sanctorum set, and I thought this was a really interesting concept, considering that that is more of a building rather than a play set. And after really thinking about it, I feel like you could put a few of these things inside that Sanctum set. However, I feel like unless you expanded it or made the floors taller or sort of increased the width of that building, you probably wouldn't be able to fit a lot of this stuff in there. But hey, like I said, this is LEGO, you can really do whatever you want with it. Like I said in the other video, one of my favorite parts about this rebuild is just how much more practical this set is in terms of space. It's much more of a big straight line and doesn't have a giant sort of section sticking out of the back, which I really like in this. It just feels a lot more sort of self-contained almost, unlike that other set, and doesn't quite feel as much like just accessories with a brick wall at the back, which again, essentially that's what this set is. But at least to me, I feel like like it's a bit more tied together, just like Thor's house was, and that has actually been one of my favorite Marvel sets of the entire year. But at the same time, I didn't want to copy that set completely with this build, but it definitely played a heavy inspiration in designing this rebuild. So there you have it. That is how to build this rebuild of Spider-Man at the Sanctum workshop. If you haven't seen me sort of walk through this build and the concept for this entire thing, I will leave that video linked at the end here. And if you enjoyed this tutorial, please give me a thumbs up. This is something that I have never tried before, so it's a very new experience for me making this video, but I had a lot of fun just doing this entire project. Let me know in the comments below if you plan on trying this rebuild out, and if you do happen to make it, I would love you guys to tag me on Instagram so I can have a look. And if you haven't already as well, please consider subscribing to the channel for more LEGO content. And until next time, guys, I'll see you later.